I've waited for this moment for over 10 years. I'm not talking about, speaking here at MozCon, although I'm honored to be here for the first time, actually. But I'm actually talking about the moment that SEO, advertising, and brand started interchanging. So a little bit about me, I guess, is my name's Carrie. I have worked in SEO ever since Penguin hit us back in 2012, but I always had this obsession with advertising. I think it was maybe about 6 years into my career, I decided to look at other jobs. I thought, imagine if an SEO went and worked for an advertising agency, like the things that I could do. So I started applying for these jobs, but then I actually realized there was a massive shift in the industry, maybe around 2018, 2019, and I actually thought one day, an advertising agency is going to start shifting into SEO, or an SEO agency is going to start shifting into advertising. And I wanted to be the first to do it. So essentially what I did is I hired a bunch of SEOs, some of the people that I've worked with for the last 10 years. I also hired a bunch of advertising creatives, and I put them in an agency together. And we created magic. So I guess in 4 years' time, we scaled the agency to 110 people. We've now expanded out to the States. And as a result of that, we get to work with clients like this. Quite a sexy brand. But actually, something I really want to kind of highlight is I started off working in gambling. So I guess when you start working in SEO, as a young junior, I got straight put onto sports betting industry. I had no freaking idea about betting, about sports. I didn't follow sports, but I seemed to really understand SEO and really understand content marketing. I spent 5 years working on Ladbrokes. So Ladbrokes is one of the biggest UK gambling brands in the UK. And essentially, we grew at 280% growth in organic revenue. Real nice success story. I kind of want to highlight, if anybody's in this kind of room thinking, I don't really work for a sexy brand, or I'm maybe working in insurance or any other kind of industry that's not that kind of, big or well-known, I really, truly believe the best marketers started in industries like this. Something even less sexy, I went into insurance. So I spent 3 years in insurance working on SEO and content marketing, and this is for a brand called GoCompare. And we got them to position one for car insurance, again, another success story for myself. And lastly, I guess this is something I can't take credit for, but actually my VP who's here today, Will in the audience, we was one of the first to coin newsjacking around 9 years ago. So if anybody's heard about newsjacking is a way to build links at scale, but also at speed. So this is basically jumping on trending news and basically using it a way to build links. What Will basically did 9 years ago is he worked in the stocks and share market. Whenever something happened in that industry, whether, Apple has suffered that day or Tesla, he reacted to it to get links back to his websites. And we basically scaled that. We now do that across fashion, beauty, travel, you name it. So this all sounds great, right? But I believe in the 10 years that I've worked in this, I've never really been challenged as much as I am right now. So I'll start with a little bit of story. So 2019, I actually won a client called Park Dean Resorts. For those that don't know, it's a UK travel brand. Essentially, they sell holidays in the UK, kind of like cabins and lodges with hot tubs. And it's quite a big brand. They're getting anywhere between, I think, 12 mil traffic or something a year. But essentially, they was going through a real turbulent time. They hired us as an agency to come in. And what we did is we took over the market leader, but that took us 4 years. And now we rank position 1 for 70% of our priority 1 key terms. So that's a long period of time. I think SEO, often we talk about this being a long-time journey, but really taking over a market leader was a big success for us, I guess. And it was a little bit like this. The CEO actually sent a picture of him popping a champagne. It was one of his lifelong dreams to take over the market leader. This was, by the way, only 4 weeks ago. However, although we rank number 1 for most of our key terms, traffic is down 16% year on year, and bookings are down 27% year on year. That's where I got really challenged. What the hell are you going to do here, Carrie? So I started looking into this. Where are we losing traffic? Where are we losing bookings? What's happening, I guess, in the industry? We broke down every single keyword that was attracting traffic to our website. And essentially what we realized is that we was losing customers at the consideration stage. which is really strange because most of SEO is at the consideration stage. So if you think about the typical user journey, it looks a little bit like this. You build awareness, people know about your brand, you push them down the funnel and you get them to consider you as a customer or consider you as a place to go and buy, and then you get them to convert. Most SEO sits within consideration. However, there is now a modified funnel. So if we look at kind of renaming this or rebranding this, when you think about building awareness, this is all about being the brand that comes to mind when you think about buying a certain brand or a certain product. Consideration now is thinking about nudging. How do we nudge that customer to come to us and think about purchasing? And then when it comes to conversion, we now call this connecting. How do we connect with that buyer instead? So what we noticed essentially is although we was losing customers at the consideration stage, their influence was actually, in terms of being a customer and buying, was being influenced before that. So we looked into this. Well, what other channels are they going to? If Google isn't the place that people are converting, maybe it's other channels. So what we did is we took their priority 1 key terms and we looked at what channels people were searching them on. It looked a little bit like this. Funny enough, Instagram. Instagram was the top place people went to look at travel content. Google was second, YouTube. People was looking on eBay, but that was mostly for things like suitcases and things like that, and Twitter and Bing, etc. One thing you'll notice is that TikTok isn't on this chart, and the reason being it was so much bigger than any other channel. So this is an example. Lodges in the UK has 15,000 monthly views on TikTok, but actually 11,000 monthly searches on Google, and it's actually down year on year 18%. So TikTok, for that 1 key term, was the biggest channel for them as a brand. So what we realized is, if we look on TikTok, our brand and our client was nowhere to be seen. Other competitors were influencing the purchase decision when they was going to that channel. So I guess there was a moment of realization that actually, at a point we thought maybe demand is down. People aren't wanting to go on holiday in the UK. And actually, brands are seeing volumes decline, but it's not because the demand isn't there. It's just because people are searching other channels now. We even broke it down by locations. So certain terms like Cornwall was down, Lake District was down, staycations and caravan sales. But what we noticed is that UK holidays was up in terms of a key term 1%, and family breaks was up 54%. So what we could see then is breaking it down by, okay, well, what channels are people going to for each key term? But this is really interesting because we noticed that there was some location terms that was up. And when we looked into this on TikTok, is that TikTok was driving that search volume. So you might not be able to read this at the back, but an example is in the Lake District, there's a place called Black Moss Pot. It's essentially this beautiful kind of like waterfall where you can go naturally swimming. And essentially that was up 226% in terms of people wanting to go there. And it's because it was getting millions and millions of views on TikTok as a channel. So you could see that TikTok was going hand in hand when it comes to influencing search volume. So I think, really, I started my own agency because I think we was losing really how people was purchasing or how people thought about search in terms of the user journey. Because I think SEO is always focused on capturing demand, and we lose emphasis on how do we actually drive demand in the first place. Recently, I actually pulled my business plan out. I don't know about any business owners in here, but sometimes we kind of lose track of why did we start this in the first place? And there was an opening statement that I wrote, and I found this and pulled it out, and I love it still to this day. So we founded Rise at 7 to push the boundaries in both creative and technical SEO because that's what I think is needed to own the most competitive search results. So you know how I mentioned that I hired advertising people and then I hired SEO people to see really what happened? I knew that was a thing that actually brands needed and had the opportunity to do. But really, what I noticed when I went and met all these clients is if I sat around the table and I had a look at who had the most say in the room, SEOs did not have the most say in the room. Usually, they were sitting kind of the back end of the table. They was often kind of given a budget and told what to do. That's maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But I saw an opportunity where SEOs could be leading that conversation. Why can't they? Why can't they be influencing what brand and PR are doing? Why can't they be influencing the TV advertising team or even things like offsite content and influencer? So in this deck, essentially, I'm going to go through millions of examples. I think I've got like 4 or 5 or 6, where basically I believe SEO should be driving every part of marketing. So SEOs could be driving the strategy and the conversation. In advertising, typically, what they do is they push brands and products, not knowing actually if that's what people want or need at that time. But we work in search. We know what people literally want at every single minute of every day because they're putting it into Google. And we need to recognize that. We need to know that we are more powerful than any other side of marketing because we know what people want every single day. But I think brands are often getting this wrong. So here's a bit of a case study, not my work, but by Zara. Sorry if Zara are in the room, by the way, but I think you can learn from this. So this was May last year. Essentially, Zara did this big influencer campaign. They basically got around 25 to 30 influencers all wearing a pair of their pink jeans. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never worn a pair of pink jeans. I would love to, especially now as like pink is in. But what they wanted to do is get people to buy their pink jeans. So of course, what they did is they got influencers to wear them. They sent it to press, you know, the pink, hot pink style of the year. And they basically generated demand. And it worked. So this is what happened. Searches related to pink jeans went up 112%. But if you have a look at this even further, so you might not be able to see, but essentially the red line is pink jeans Zara, so people looking specifically for the product plus the brand. And the blue line is just pink jeans. So what you can see is they was paying, you know, crazy money for all these influencers to generate search demand. And what you can see is that pink jeans as a term was the thing people wanted. But when you go to Google and type in pink jeans, Zara were nowhere to be found. So they was creating search demand for a product they didn't even rank for. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, the advertising, the influencer industry, they're doing it this completely the wrong way around. So as an SEO, I was like, hey, to one of our fashion brands, what if we reverse engineered this? We started with things we ranked position 1 for. What we did is we pulled a list of products we ranked position 1 for, and we said, hey, influencer team, can you do some things to generate demand around this? Looked a little bit like this. So we basically pulled around 15 keywords that ranked position 1 already, and we looked at the monthly search volume and how much stock that we had. So obviously, if we generate demand, we want to make sure we can actually facilitate that demand and be able to sell products. And what we basically found is this like kind of sweet spot of this halter neck top. And essentially, this was not a style that was in that year. It was not necessarily trending at the time. It had a search volume around 35,000 a month. And we had 405 different types of the halter neck top in stock as well. So we knew, okay, well, if this works, because this is a test, right? If this works, then we could sell a lot of these halter neck tops. We broke it down just like this. Essentially, we chose the product category, halter neck tops. We sent a list of to 25 influencers, got them all to wear that style and create content on TikTok and Instagram around that. We then pushed it to press because ultimately we wanted links. We wanted links into that category as well. And we did a little bit of social media marketing, some emails and things like that, just to try to generate that demand. All of a sudden, everybody started wearing that style. There were celebrities, Hailey Bieber, there was multiple people on TV wearing the halter neck style top because they had seen it in the press, they'd seen it on TikTok. We had influenced search demand. And we got a load of press for it. You know, the new TikTok top that everybody's wearing. Here's the best places to get that style. And of course, the brand that we was doing this for was at the center of every single conversation. As a result, search volume went up 841%. And because we ranked number 1, we got all the traffic and all the sales. It was perfect. We also built 19 links back into that category page, reached several million people, traffic went up, and we sold out of those products as well. But despite this being a social, a PR, and influencer-driven execution, it was all driven by SEO. So that's a perfect example of how we could be using our own techniques, data, insight, strategies to be influencing other people around that table. So what is our problem in our industry right now? I think it was Andy kind of mentioned this. Most SEOs are chasing Google. This is something, you know, we've had many different Google updates. I know Lily Ray's predicted potentially one in the next few days. But we're chasing Google in terms of updates all the time. But actually, Google is chasing users. So I've got some stats to kind of back that up. I had a look at this recently. This was maybe in like April. And essentially, festival outfits, in terms of a key term, is up 3% on Google. But if you have a look on Pinterest, it's actually up 200%. So what you can see there is people are going to Pinterest more than any other channel to actually search for festival outfits. And that's why I knew we need to start be thinking about different channels. Another example, something a little bit less sexy, is garden furniture. Garden furniture actually in the UK is down 40% year on year. Less people are buying garden furniture. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but garden furniture is really expensive in the UK. But essentially what we found is that search volumes on Pinterest and TikTok for garden furniture are up year on year. Another one is lingerie, down 13% this year, but actually on Instagram and TikTok it's up. And something a little bit different is the Atlantis Palm, the most famous hotel in Dubai, is actually down 16%. And it's not because people don't want to go there, but it's actually because they're just searching on other channels. So if you ever look at the opportunity, it's that Google may not be the first place people are going to. And we need to think about that when we look at the overall user journey. We need to be spending our marketing budget now where our customers are spending their time. And I think we're starting to realize that actually Google isn't the first or only place people are going to when it comes to our customers. So really, we need to be thinking about multi-platform search strategies. And you're probably all questioning, but how do I do that? How do I get these search volumes? And I think we just need to start by at least thinking about this or thinking about search everywhere. Funny enough, I talked about how I think Google is going to change in March. I went to Brighton SEO, I spoke on stage about I think there's this change coming around content creation, about other people's experiences, and I swear on my life a week later, Google rolled out SGE. I was like, no way, I feel like I predicted this. But essentially, it's really interesting to see that I kind of saw this coming. I always knew customer first was the way that marketing's always been and always will be. But I just knew Google was kind of failing on that front. People were going to places like TikTok because TikTok was answering a lot of our search queries a lot faster than Google can. But really, the way that SGE is laid out in very, very simple terms is the 10 blue links are really at risk. If you look at the structure, it starts off with AI. Then we have first-hand experiences. And what I mean by that is first-hand experiences is other people that have either bought that product, gone to that location, stayed in that hotel, whatever it is, and what is it that they're saying about that experience? And then lastly, it's other people's perspectives. So if there's a conversation about a certain destination or product or whatever it is, what are the perspectives people have, whether that's reviews or comments on Twitter or anything like that? That's the way that SGE is structured. Because what you can see is that actually Google is moving away from brands' recommendations and moving more towards people's recommendations. But I think as SEOs, I'm really sorry about this because I know we've talked a lot about AI at this conference, but I think we're focusing way too much on AI and actually focusing less on first-hand experiences and other people's perspectives. I think we have the power to actually use and focus on that more than ever before. And if we have a look at why Google's done this, so I had a look at their reports about why they're rolling out a new generative experience, and they said this: you'll be able to understand a topic faster, uncover new viewpoints and insights, and get things done more easily. I've highlighted faster and ease because really I think Google realized they was losing traffic and they was losing customers because it weren't fast and it wasn't easy to get an answer to our search queries. And TikTok was winning every single time. But in my opinion, what I think also is happening is customers trust Google's recommendations less because they're trusting brand advertising less. What they want is other people's experiences. Really, in advertising, we call that word of mouth. So I'm going to be talking about first-hand experiences and perspectives. How can we optimize off Google, such as using the media, or also customers on social media and things like UGC and reviews to really win on Google as well? I truly believe this, the best marketing strategy is actually getting other people to be recommending our brand or product. And if we have a look at a typical search kind of platform, or this is like a SERP, that it always starts, or at least has been doing over recent years, is top stories features very heavily at the top of our search journey now. Then it goes into kind of your organic listings, and then there's things like videos. So really we need to be thinking about how we can influence the SERP and how other people's recommendations is going to come in there. So I'm going to talk about top stories. So top stories is really the top stories of the day that gets brought into the news or the search feed. And really, they are the most powerful or the most powerful area for not only publishers, but for brands to be in. And really, links from high traffic pages from those top stories are the most valuable links as well. Because you've got to think, the traffic's there, the brand awareness is there, and that is what is at the top of Google. So really, we want to be getting links from there. I've got an example of how to do that, by the way. And then secondly, top stories and breaking news are usually structured, when it comes to the website, close to the homepage. Therefore, when you're getting links from those top stories and breaking news, they're more valuable than any other. So here's a case study example in the US. So we actually work with a fitness brand who are, you might have recognized these because there's loads of ads on TikTok and stuff. They're those kind of like mirrors where you have like a personal trainer in them where you can work at home and stuff. These kind of like boomed, I think, during the pandemic. So this is one of our clients called 𝗙cie. And essentially what they wanted to do is help, number one, sell their product, increase organic revenue and organic rankings, but how can they actually position themselves as a leader in that fitness space? But when you think about the kind of opportunity, it's really a delicate balance to really keep everybody engaged. Because I always think about it like this. What do clients want to talk about? You know, not everybody wants to talk about certain topics, but we need to find what is that sweet spot. What do consumers care about, and also what does the media care about? Because ultimately, we're going to be using PR and link building to find that kind of sweet spot in that way. So really, finding that thing in the middle between these three things was really hard. So what we need to do is use what we've got. So on 𝗙cie, on their mirrors, essentially all the personal trainers are real people. And everyone from Robert and Molly and Taylor, these are people that have actual influence offline as well. They have an Instagram profile with several thousand followers. They're creating content all the time around fitness and health. And really we thought, how can we use these guys as a way to build links back to our website? Something at 𝗙ecie𝗹𝗹𝗙 we did is I was always obsessed with the way user behavior was in terms of tracking trends. When I saw something happen in the media or even just a big media moment, whether it's a movie release like Barbie, how people reacted to that in terms of search volumes. So what I basically did is I looked at every single kind of channel from TikTok to Pinterest to Google Trends, and I built a tool that tracks consumer search behavior live. Funny enough, we actually get an email every single day at 7 a.m., very on brand. And it basically sums up how people are behaving in each industry. But this is something you can do as well. So to start with, one of the best tools that I use, and we actually pull a part of their API, is a tool called 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗙. I think I need shares in 𝗙cie or something, because I recommend this tool at every conference I go to. But truly, 𝗙cie is a really, really good tool in terms of tracking keywords and search volumes. It's free, by the way, so you get 10 search pieces of data every single month, but then obviously you can go and pay for it. But what you can do, which a lot of people don't realize you can put over 500 keywords into 𝗙cie and basically say to it, whenever the search volume goes above 100 for these key terms, notify me to my email, because I want to be there when people are searching and I want to be able to react to that moment. Another tool that's really good for tracking trends is Exploding Topics. This is, again, is a free tool, but they do have a pro kind of section. This is less around your key volumes and tracking your keywords, but more around what is exploding in your industry. So if you work in medical, if you work in travel, finance, insurance, whatever it is. I don't know if many people know this, but Pinterest, if you go on trends.pinterest.com, they actually now show you keyword volumes and trends on Pinterest as well. Not many people are talking about this, but there's an actual insight section on their website, completely free, and it basically shows you in every single industry what the top search trends are on Pinterest. TikTok are doing the same, so there's now a keyword insights. I keep these secrets to myself, but these are things I want to share with you guys. So TikTok have this section called keyword insights. It shows you the top keywords that I mention in every single video and how they're trending daily, and you can break that down by industry as well. And you can also track trending hashtags. So this is all free available data that TikTok, Pinterest, all these tools are basically creating for us, but this gives us an opportunity to track them. So if I rewind back to 𝗙cie, what is it that we did? We obviously have built our own tool which pulls all of these into one, because I want to know, in summary, every single day, how my consumers are behaving for my clients. And what we basically got told one Monday, I think it was a Monday or a Tuesday, is that everybody was searching for Miley Cyrus workout. So why is that? Search volumes went up 315%. We want to know, why are people searching for it? We typed Miley Cyrus into Google to see really what's going on, and it's because she released this song. This is Miley Cyrus' Flowers song, and it was the most talked about song, I guess, for the next 3 months, and there's good reason for that. So I don't know if anybody kind of like follows Miley Cyrus or the story of it, but essentially she broke up with her ex, Liam Hemsworth, and essentially she wrote a song about the breakup. She actually released it on his birthday. I believe she used the villa or the house that they used to live in or something like that. So it was really kind of like a hot topic. But it meant that it was getting in breaking news and top stories every single day for 3 months straight. She smashed records, so it was one of the top albums of the year. TikTok started breaking down the gossip, like, oh my God, have you seen this little Easter egg in behind the scenes? And everybody was talking about the video and how good she looked. She obviously had this like hot moment where she'd obviously got kind of like in a fitness kind of moment, really. So what we noticed is that people was actually searching for her workout. So if we talk about the sweet spot, you know, we're talking about how can we use fitness and these experts. People are searching for Miley Cyrus workout. That's something that we can do. So the process looks a little bit like this. I'm really sorry for all the text. But essentially, we spotted the search trend. We created mass content, so how-tos, imagery, video content, put them out across TikTok, Pinterest, etc. And we then used PR to basically make sure that it landed in the press to get links as well. So it looked a little bit like this in terms of the how-tos and the videos. And we basically put ourselves and our trainers at the center of that conversation when it comes to Miley Cyrus. We did everything from breaking down the Miley Cyrus workout routine, how she got the look, a breakdown of the flowers. Miley Cyrus gave a peek at her workout routine in her flowers music video. And we used that as an opportunity to build links back to our clients' websites. Miley Cyrus wasn't the only celebrities people were searching for. This was, what's he called? Paul Rudd. I think it was after Ant-Man, right? Everybody was like, oh, he looks great. How do I get his look? So we used that as an opportunity to react to it too. As a result of that, we got 75 links back into the website. But because we was getting links from breaking news and top stories, they're more valuable than anywhere else. And we got increase in visibility in the space of 3 months by 500%. It was crazy. So I've talked about how TikTok has a power to influence demand, but also it has the power to influence what journalists are talking about. We did a bit of research recently, and what we're noticing is around 60% of stories in the national media mention TikTok. They're looking at what people are talking about, what's trending on TikTok. So we thought, let's reverse engineer this. Typically, when we go out to the press, or send a news story, we will try convince, hey, Daily Mail or USA Today or CNN, we've got this new product, we've got this story, whatever it is, can you cover this story? But that doesn't always work. So what we did is, we actually, on this example, is we got content creators to be talking about our product instead, and then, of course, naturally, the press picked that up. So it looked a bit like this. Content creators unboxed this new product that we launched to the market. Press saw the news, so they saw this on TikTok in terms of trending, everybody talking about this new miracle cream. It landed in a load of press, and as a result of it, we then converted with some ads afterwards. So what we're starting to think about when it comes to link building is, actually, instead of going to press to get links, why don't we go to TikTok, get them to talk about it first, because press are just going to pick it up there anyway. As a result, we featured in the top stories for 3 days in a row, and it's because top stories are using TikTok stories all the time. So, we're an SEO agency. I've worked in SEO for most of my career. But really what I've done over the last few months, I think we launched this in March, is we've now built a content creation team in-house, because really what we've realized, if we can be the ones creating the content for TikTok and actually influencing, what people are saying on that channel, that's how we're going to influence search volumes, that's how we're going to influence links and what the media is saying about us. So actually, I think SEOs need to start thinking, how can we start connecting with influencers or social teams in that way? And the last section is talking about TikTok. How do we rank on TikTok? Because there's massive opportunity there. So this stat came out, I think it was in February. Essentially, 40% of young people, Gen Zers, are preferring to go to TikTok when it comes to things like planning a vacation, comparing beauty products, or even picking a restaurant. And when there's so much information and content out there, obviously platforms are fighting to keep everybody on their platform. So even Google's struggling to keep people there and get traffic onto Google. Even Instagram recently launched Threads, and it's because they're struggling to keep people onto their platform as well. But why is this happening? It's because consumers are becoming more impatient. They just want results faster for their queries when it comes to search. And short-form content is becoming the answer. This was a study recently done when it comes to kind of short-form written content. So somebody basically pulled articles that ranked position 1 on Google for all of these industries across automotive, construction, economics, and they analyzed the average word count of those articles. And what they found is that the ones that ranked position 1 was anywhere between 400 to 800 words, I guess, on those articles. You don't no longer need 2,500 word articles, because actually shorter form content is being rewarded by Google because Google's realizing we're losing customers. Something that we're doing as well is, I think Andy might have mentioned this as well, a lot of brands are doing this where they're summarizing their long-form articles in short, so it may be a 30-second summary of what this article says, and it's because we just need to get to the point now when it comes to content. So we're living in the battle of short-form content era, and this is going against YouTube versus TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. They're battling when it comes to short-form content, but TikTok is winning so far. They're beating the battle. I think the average consumer is around 95 minutes a day in terms of people spending their time on TikTok. But of course that varies. It varies on the audience, it varies on keywords, like why are people going onto TikTok? You're not going to go to TikTok for car insurance, but you may go there for different keywords as well. And I think really something that people are highlighting, I guess, in this talk is that I think for a while we thought Google is scared. Google is scared of what TikTok's going to do because they're taking traffic. But actually what I've realized is TikTok's visibility on Google is shot up. So Google is actually rewarding TikTok videos more than ever before. If you type in football players, I always get this name wrong. Who is it? 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie? Does anyone know this guy? I think he's like plays for Liverpool or something. I think I've made that up. But if you search for football players' names on Google now, Google is displaying TikTok content. So although we're thinking Google is afraid of TikTok, Google is actually now rewarding it. So how do you rank on TikTok? It's really fucking easy, I'm not going to lie. Essentially, I'm giving away all my secrets. So essentially, it's just like 2010. You put your keywords in your content. That's as simple as it is. So essentially, when you create a video content, the first 3 seconds, well, it's really 1 to 5, but little secret, it's actually 1 to 3, in my opinion. If you can add your keyword in the video on the text in the first 3 seconds, that's where the algorithm picks that up and it's easy to rank. You don't need to mention your keyword all the time in the caption, but if you mention it in the video in terms of text on screen, that's how the algorithm picks it up. Of course, you can also mention it in the caption as well. So if you are this is an example of, it's not a very pretty video, right? Blackheads. This is a client of ours. We work with 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie, they're a skincare brand, and they wanted to dominate TikTok when it came to search. They said, how can we get our products to rank on TikTok when it comes to blackheads and the solution of blackheads? So we do. So we rank #1 for all of their blackhead terms and how-tos and things like that. And as a result, we're getting millions of views of our content. But it's all because we're adding the keywords in the right places. And lastly, hashtags. So hashtags are actually quite valuable in terms of TikTok SEO. So you can use anywhere between 3 and 6 keyword hashtags. I think sometimes people can do overkill and confuse the algorithm. So the algorithm is actually still working out hashtags, which ones to prioritize. So really the main thing is tip #1, make sure you have your keyword in the text on the video in the first 1 to 3 seconds, and that's where you'll win. But something to know is TikTok's relationship with Google. As I mentioned before, TikTok has the power to influence search demand. I actually mentioned this earlier on in the deck. We worked with a client called Revolution Beauty. They're a beauty brand. And essentially, their goal to us when they came to us wasn't SEO, even though it was an SEO budget. But their goal wasn't to increase SEO or to get links to their website. They just wanted to dominate SERPs. They said, we don't care where people are searching, where they are. We need to be there when they are. And obviously what we realized is with the previous case study is TikTok does have the power to influence search volumes. So when we did this, so the strategy of the content creator, that is all about driving discovery of that brand and product. The press coverage was the signal of trust. So if a content creator on TikTok is saying, hey, you should buy this product because it's really, really good for your skin, and they're also seeing that in the press as a signal of authority, then that's really going to influence demand. And it proved it, 2,000% up in terms of search volume for the Revolution Beauty Magic Cream dupe. And this was just the results of it. A little tip, actually, because I know we've got some paid people in the room. Something that we did as well to get people to convert is we actually used our press coverage in our ads. So when a content creator or an influencer was talking about that product, we would then do an overlay, a bit of a green screen, using our press coverage because that got higher conversion rate than anything else. So when people see the press talking about this amazing product, good reviews, you should try it, then that is a more trustworthy recommendation, just why Google is obviously using press recommendations as well. But that's a bit of a paid social tip. And as a result of this, so this was actually a strategy to try steal Charlotte Tilbury's SERPs. So Charlotte Tilbury actually has a product similar to Revolution Beauty, and they wanted to steal the SERP when people were searching for their product, and we did. So if you type in Magic Cream Dupe, which is what Charlotte Tilbury sells, our brand actually ranks before them, which they're really pissed off about. So, takeaways. Number one, we need to be thinking about optimizing offsite and Google could supercharge organic growth. SEO has the opportunity to drive social brand and PR strategy. We need to be getting links from high traffic pages, so remember those top stories. A UGC content is our future. That's where Google is moving towards. And also you need to be where your customers are searching. And I am going to finish on this quote. We work in SEO, we work in search. We know exactly what people want at every single time, and that's why we should have more power around that table. Thank you very much.